Alright, so I got a hold of some Nissan Leaf batteries, and you guys probably know what they look like from all the pictures online. These are pretty much what they are. Nissan Leaf has 48 stick stacks in series, and these are just one of them. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to disassemble this cell pack to salvage the cells. I have some tools here. I got some gloves. I'm not going to be using them for this demo just because I lose my dexterity. But if you are worried about your worried about your skins, I got some cut from opening some of the previous one. Then go ahead and do it. But I think I got enough experience now. Electrical tape. You need these to kind of seal off the terminals so that it doesn't short each other out. So you don't want to do that. I haven't gotten short, but just in case. Scissor, of course, to cut these electrical tape. I just use like a flathead screwdriver, and the only reason why I use this is to remove this. There's spacers in there, and I'll show you what they are once we get to that point. But that's the only reason why I use these flathead screwdriver. A small one would do. You definitely need a wire cutter. Again, this is soft aluminum, so this wire cutter will be plenty enough to cut in through the aluminum. So you don't have to have something heavy duty. And finally, most importantly, the sardine can opener. And the reason why you need this is because this is actually like a sardine can, as you guys can see. And so it's only proper to use the right tools for the right job. So let's go ahead and get started. So right now I'm gonna keep the cells arrive with this tape on top of it, on the top of the terminals. I would keep them on for now, but later on you won't need them because you'll be using electrical tape. So the cells are like so, and they're kind of bent. The edges are kind of bent on so that they're held together. The important thing to note is that there's actually holes and openings at the edges here. I don't know exactly what they are for. Probably air cooling or the way they mounted in the Nissan Leaf. But they're important later on when you need to disassemble them. So go ahead and start your sardine can opener. So there's really, the way I would do it is I would start from this corner, because my can opener rotates this way, so it's going to be migrating along the way. Similarly, when I do it on the other side, I will start from this corner. You don't want to cut this thing onto this corner just because that's where the terminals are. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't worry about this because the cell itself is in the center. The edges are not anywhere near the cells, so therefore you don't run the risk into cutting into those parts. So I'm going to go ahead and cut into this cell here. I would go to the edge of the table just because it's a lot easier for me to rotate because my can opener's handle is a little big. No need to press down too tight except for the corners here. And the reason is because the corners are kind of a little difficult to handle, but you get to the point of it. Once you get past, there's no need to press that hard. The can opener itself should be sharp enough to cut into these soft aluminum. So I've done this a couple times already. I got probably 4 of these already open, so that's why I'm doing this fast. But for you people who have never done this before, I recommend you to take some time to actually learn it. Now, these are soft aluminum. Nevertheless, they still can cut you like I did here. So be careful at the edges, especially when you just using these can openers. They're like sharp edges and whatnot. So just kind of peel them off here at the edges like so. Otherwise, next time when you put your hand near there, it will get cut. These things are not sharp enough to cut many things, but your skin they will. So as you can see, after doing this, there's still like a little piece of metal that isn't fully cut. So this can opener is great in the sense that it can go forward, but not for too long. And just back and forth until it cuts it. So there you have it. That's one side. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this side, and I'll probably fast forward the video. Alright, so it looks like I got for the most part, all of it except for this corner here. So let's go ahead and finish the job there. And yeah, my can opener has the ability to go forward. I would just go back and forth a couple times. And it looks like it did the job. If it doesn't, use your wire cutter and that will do it. So that is just removing the top. Now there's adhesive in the center, as so. And so as you're peeling this off, that's what you need to get rid of. Before proceed any further, I'll be moving the edges, cleaning the edges of those soft aluminum pieces. So make sure that everything is cut, and if it helps, you can use that screwdriver and whatnot to peel off these things. Once you got that, I would just peel as so. As you can see inside, there's the aluminum cover, there's the blue protective case, and then of course the cell itself. Not sure you can see from this, but that's what it is. And of course there's some other stuff I can talk about later. But the way you remove this is you would peel as if you're peeling open a can opener. Now try to put your your hand on the blue stuff as you get leverage. So once you got that, just kind of peel this as far back as possible. Now if you get lucky, you can remove some of these pieces, these joints. Last time I got lucky and they came off automatically, but if you don't, most likely you won't. There's ways you can cut into this. Hopefully you can see it. So there's 1 there, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 joints that still keep this top can lid on it. So what you need to do is get rid of that. And so use your handy wire cutter here. And so there's a sticky material here. Just leave that for now. And let's focus on getting this out. So I would just cut into as so. You don't have to worry too much about anything special. Just cut away. First ones will be a little difficult just because you don't have a lot of room, but work it from both sides. And again, they're very soft aluminum, so you should be able to easily cut them out. As you can see, once you cut it, it comes off because there's really nothing else holding it except for that curve. So similarly, on this other side, you would do the same thing as so. Much anyways. Alright, so anyways, got the lid off. These are what it looks like. So I'm going to leave that on the side for now. Now this is where you would use, I forgot to mention, but you will probably need some wax paper. You can probably do without it, but then again, this sticking on the table itself or any surfaces, and when you try to remove them, you will probably bend the cell because there's really nothing structurally holding this cell together other than the case itself, which you already removed. So and I'll explain a little more when we get to that point. You'll see what I mean. So just get some wax paper, get them from your Albertson, Bond stores or whatever supermarket store, and just lay them on there just for now, so that but you really don't have to do it now. I'm just kind of pointing that out right now. So what you want to do now is just go ahead and remove the cover there and get some electrical tape and cover up those leads because you're going to be working close by and you don't want them to short. So the next step is you need to, before you would notice the top and the bottom has this groove, and the reason is because that's where the adhesive is. And so what you need to do is go ahead and remove the bottom cover. Now there's really no easy way just because there's nothing to cut. So what you really need to do is just remove the whole cell itself. But before you go any further, there's these 4 spacers that will fall out if you flip over. As you can see, this one came off already. The other one doesn't look like they want to, so that's when this tool comes into play. Just kind of push it out there. And not sure you can see them, but just pull them out. Reuse them for what you want, or go ahead and recycle it. It doesn't really matter. The aluminum, definitely it's aluminum, so it is recyclable. Just put them in your recycling bin and it should be fine. Anyways, so now that you have these top cover off, those spacer washer or spacers off, what you want to do is remove the bottom piece. And there's a couple ways you can do that. But the first step, you need to prepare. And so you really need to kind of bend this down as so that you can pull this out of the 4 terminal pin cover, whatever those are called. So as so. I find it's easiest to use kind of the wire cutter that you have, that we don't have to have any other tools, and just kind of pull it back here. You already covered these ports, these terminals with it, so you shouldn't have any short. But do be careful if you don't have this thing, because sometimes this aluminum will short between the two. It's highly improbable, but you never know. And you don't want to short these cells. You have a lot of energy in there. So finally, what you need to do next is, this is where I would probably use a glove. As you can see where I'm cutting, it's kind of very jagged. So just kind of bend this piece back a little bit. And similarly on the other side. If you find it difficult, it might help if you use this wire cutter a little bit here, just to peel this back. Alright, so the reason why you bend that back is because you need to essentially make a cut from this corner down somewhere like so. And then similarly on this side. You'll see it when I do this. So what we're going to do is just Alright, so at this point, you notice that there's actually 2 more holes on the bottom where the spacer used to stay, and it's actually advantageous for you to tap into them. And so what I mean by that is they give you some leverage to just easily cut into this section, and you will need to cut into this section. There is a plastic piece there, so just kind of cut the edges like so. It doesn't really matter you cut into this plastic piece. Again, you're not using it anyways at the end of the day. Alright, so that's that. So at this point, what I want to do is to split these 2 aside apart as far as possible. Now, you don't have to cut it, you don't have to split it all the way, just like so. And then finally, not sure you can see it, but I would want to move this piece and expose as much as possible, like an opening. Like so. Kind of bend this back on each side. And as you can see inside, you will see a similar pattern. I'm not sure you can see it here. Let's see if I can get a flashlight on here. So there's the bottom plate, there's the blue piece, and then finally the cell itself. Similarly, just the exact same on the top. And the reason why that's important is you need to really remove that. And again, there's adhesive. So what you can do, if you're good enough, is to kind of just split that apart. But I wouldn't recommend that just because you really don't have leverage. Now, this terminal piece here, it's not really held on by anything, and as you notice, this cell itself is really fragile and flimsy, and so when you try to pull this off, you risk running the risk of just like ripping this whole front piece. Okay, so I'm back. The tools I was talking about is this large knife you call a machete. Now, I'm not going to cut into the cell, but I'll show you what's useful about it. how to disassemble this cell. And essentially the idea is you want to slip this through in between and peel off this adhesive so that you can literally remove it. It is going to be a little difficult, so I might have to adjust the camera a little bit so that you can see the whole picture. So raising this up a little bit here. Alright, so remember what I had before is I have this this 3-layer thing where there's the aluminum on the bottom, the blue piece in the middle, and then finally the cell itself. So what you want to do is hold the knife and slit it through between the aluminum. It's important now. Between the aluminum and the blue protector. And you never want to do it through the cell because you risk cutting into the cell. So the reason why I raised it up, the camera up, is what you want to do is something like I'm doing here, where so keep in mind the adhesive is where I'm pointing out right here, and so you want to put your machete somewhere pointing down that direction, and just wiggle it back and forth, sometime pulling it back out and restarting, and you will hear the adhesive breaking apart, coming off, and you kind of can see it. You can see this the edge of the knife also through this. I can see it clearly. I'm not sure it shows up on the video or not, but when you get to around like maybe 90% or 80% of the way, you will know to stop, and the last piece is just peeling it apart, and it becomes really easy. So this part is not terribly interesting, but essentially what I'm doing is back and forth motion on the cell itself, and just trying to remove it. You again be gentle on this section of this tutorial. Alright, so I've gotten, for the most part, the whole thing off. Not the whole thing, but gone through the adhesive. And so at this point I'm going to remove the machete and go ahead and just split it. So now at this point you're pretty much covered, removed pretty much all of it already, and it should be easy to pull this apart. And so once you pull this apart, that's pretty much it. So there you have it. You have the cells apart, and that's pretty much it. So that covers removing, separating the aluminum piece. Now initially I thought the aluminum piece, the case itself, was pretty heavy, and it's actually not. The bulk of the weight is inside the cell itself. The covering, I guess whatever these plastic pieces are, is not that heavy, so the bulk of the weight is within the cell itself. So I was hoping I can save a lot of weight, but it doesn't look like so.